And we're back with Dar and Dibbles talking about Star Citizen. Specifically, the episode we just finished was talking about contested zones and is that the future of PvP? Is CIG on the right track? It was a great little discussion about what CIG is doing with contested zones as a rule of thumb right now. And now we're on our After Dark section where we've taken questions from the chat. Yes, we get a little. Turn the lights down a little bit. Turn on some smooth jazz as we vocally make love to you.
Hey, space people. Get answer your questions about space. And will CIG turn it into a laser?
Yes.
Can space be a biggie?
All right, let's move on to. All right, let's get started on with the first question. The first question is from Shimpasta, who asks, do you think instanced missions and game areas will set us up to finally get arena commander pods in Star Citizen? Dibbles,
Yes.
What do you think? Yes?
Yeah, I do. Because you can just put the arena commander pods in an instance.
Okay.
And then you can take an elevator from Microtech to go to your gamers bar, and then you're done.
Dar?
Yeah, I mean, I think having that in the game, along with the one of the old promises of arena commander pods is, I mean, it would be great. The tech to do it would be, yeah, if they can do it as an instance. I mean, as far as I know, instances exist on the shard that you're on right now. I don't believe you can go cross shards, and Arena Commander would be a separate shard. So, I mean, it would certainly be a different Arena Commander. You'd probably only be playing with people on the shard you're connected to if you're using the current instance tech. But, doing something with that, that's probably like how that tech would function.
Yeah, I could see it. I could also see it being used for like local instance. So like you have a local instance of Arena Commander where if you're in like an org base where people can get together and do training, so it's just you in the Arena Commander sort of situation. I've always thought that Arena Commander is going to serve a dual purpose of practice for people so people don't have to like suffer the consequences of death, which allows for people to play a little bit better and for people to train, but also as a sort of quick instance, I hope, free to play game mode that players outside of the universe can come in and join and play and enjoy and then go, oh, there's a MMO or a single player version that comes along with this. I'll go get the single player Squad 42 or play the MMO Star Citizen and play and kind of expand beyond that because they do a really good job with Arena Commander. And it's kind of a shame.
They really do.
It's a shame that a lot of people they just don't get as much activity. They have some hardcore fans who play like Gun Rush and all that kind of stuff a lot, but I feel like if they made the barrier to entry lower for people to get into Arena Commander, I think they would. There's definitely an audience for that if it's not just in Star Citizen.
Yeah, it's a really good gateway drug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think despite the fact that they've done really good work with the Arena Commander front end, they would get a lot more engagement with it if it was accessible through the verse, because most people are coming to Star Citizen for the verse and don't click on that Arena Commander on the main menu. And if it's something you can do more seamlessly, I bet a lot more people would do it. And it's fun. It's really fun. We do it occasionally as an org, and it's it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
The gun rush is fun, and the kill collector thing is fun. It feels kind of like COD, but like laggy.
Laggy and buggy.
Yeah. But it's fun. I like the work they've done with it. I'd love to see more people enjoying it, engaging with it somehow.
Yeah. All right, Nerd the Trooper asks, do you think conflict zones and other PvP zones should be rep gated? I.e., if you're a dirtbag against certain factions, you don't get to play.
I mean, some of them maybe. I think rep needs to be important, and I think that's probably the thing. If we're going to mitigate the open PvP that happens in Star Citizen, rep is probably the way this can organically happen. If we're both high rep with Citizens for Prosperity, and I happen to just kill you for no reason, and I lose rep with them, I would be incentivized to not kill you for no reason. So, um, yeah, I could see that.
Dibs?
Yes, sort of. If they stick to their guns about rep meaning something, like eventually we're going to do things that can make the headhunters mad, and then you can't land at the place where the missions are at or the events are at, so you can't do anything. I would like to see like a Xeno threat CZ or a CFP CZ or anything like that, or any of the like major factions in Pyro. I'd like to see those kind of being levied in a manner to like help do this faction war they're obviously hinting at without telling us they're going to do it, but they're going to freaking do it.
Of course they are.
I hope they do it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be cool, man.
Yeah, I mean that's that's clearly going to be the main plot of this year's kind of content. They're not really subtle. CIG is about as subtle as a sledgehammer when it comes to a lot of their decisions, and they telegraph things going a long way. And yeah, it's clear that we're going to see a big faction war. And yeah, I think having a CZ that's dedicated to one faction, where you have to have that faction to be able to get there, can work, because that's almost like instancing is itself, just because now it's kind of like the depths where the only people who are going to be getting in there are already part of like citizens and part of CFP. So if you're already part of CFP, then you don't have an incentive to shoot another person in CFP and lose your rep. So
yeah, and then who knows if they're actually going to let us rival the Rough and Ready gang? Like they own all the spots.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to see the Rough and Ready gang lose a couple of spots for other players. So like they just own 3 or 4, and then the rest of the stations are owned by other factions.
Yeah, like, I think you're right. I think they're going to reskin them.
Like Ruin isn't supposed to be a Rough and Ready station. It's supposed to big. The big thing about Ruin is it's supposed to be controlled by Xenothreat. Like that's their big headquarters. So, and in one of the monthly reports, they actually had a picture of a station with Xenothreat markings, like the that entry station where you first walk in when you get up from the hangars, and you walk into that big open area with the little funnel in. It was that, but with Xenothreat like logo stenciled on the wall as you walk in. So,
cool.
Yeah, so it's clear they have a plan for it. So maybe we'll see that. All right, Shimpasta asks a question. Should CIG have a skill matching system? Fun fact, they do. It's called the Matchmaker system. And it's not finished yet. But the idea, that's the reason why, for instance, if you try to join a server that's full, but your friend is there, it will prioritize you and let you go in. That's why they have that spillover between 500 and 600. So it's a thing that allows you to join friends even if there's a full server right now, because that's kind of how that works. The idea in the future is that they will sort people out by, unless you have a friend, if you just go in solo, they'll sort people out by skill level to determine what shard you go into. Or can even make it so that like the DGS you enter will determine, like, you can make it. This is old Star Citizen, so it's probably changed. The idea was that you could have somebody who was super PvP oriented, and the matchmaking service would always make sure that if they saw somebody, they would be seeing another PvPer rather than entirely seeing other people, so that you'd have players would be forced into these conflicts unless they were in a place like Pyro where that just was turned off. It was just free for all, so that you could manage who was fighting who. I don't know if that's still a thing anymore, because they've changed a lot about like their visions for what Star Citizen is going to be. But the matchmaking service is still there. It's the thing that filters it out for like players and party members. So, Dibbles, what do you think?
Skill-based matchmaking is trash, and I hate it. I want to be stomped by bigger, better players. It's motivation. I also want to stomp players worse than me, because sometimes I need a pick-me-up. What about my mental health?
Yeah.
Everyone always asks how the miner's doing, never how the murderer.
Yeah, it's true. I think skill-based matchmaking has a place. I don't think that place is Star Citizen.
Mhm.
I've played games like Valorant, and I'm very appreciative of skill-based matchmaking in a game like that. I don't think it would be fun without it. Star Citizen's not Valorant. It's not a competitive game. It's an MMO. You're going to encounter, a broad variety of people, and I don't think we should be. It's exhausting to play a game at a high skill level all the time. And if you're getting matched with only people who are at or above your skill level, then it'll be an exhausting game to play. and I don't think it's not. It's matchmaking, sure, skill based matchmaking in a game like Star Citizen or an MMO. No, I don't, unless it's like an arena commander instance thing where you're competing on a leaderboard. That's a good place for skill based matchmaking to make sense. Like, okay, if I'm booting up arena commander to do 1v1s in Gladiuses, I'm mentally in a place where I want to be challenged all the time, then great, but not for the verse as a whole.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Bracer Phoenix asks, does vending machine coming in 2025? Functional vending machines? Probably not. There's just not a lot of there's not a lot of features. Like they talk about features, and that feels like one of those features that's A, not a priority, and B, could probably break stuff because this is CIG and Star Citizen. So if there's one thing that's going to break something, it's something that has nothing to do with anything in the game. That like it's like, oh yeah, we added vending machines and now respawn doesn't work. You know.
No, they would break elevators.
Yeah, it would cause elevators to be even worse. Yeah.
They'd give you pips and then kill you.
Yeah. you try to get a pips out of the machine, and once it goes down, you immediately get transported to an elevator that's locked, and you can't get out.
And then your character is shard locked to that shard for a month.
And then your instance hanger despawns, and now you're in the center of a void.
Surrounded by Big Benny's machines.
This sounds like a great horror game. CIG, make that.
Yeah, I've always said the first and second Tavaran War would be really good RTSs for a game. Like there's our horror game right there. Yeah. Star Citizen Backrooms.
The Day of the Vera is just elevators.
Yeah. David Stockholm asks, question, what graphics card would you recommend for Star Citizen? It's funny because we were talking about this before we went live, because I was talking about I have to build a new rig for streaming the game, and also talking about other things. The question I would have for you, David, is what are you playing in? Because that's really the big part. Are you playing in 1080p, 1440, or 4K, or some other weird resolution? Because that'll determine a lot of stuff. But what do you think, Dibbles? What would you recommend for somebody who's playing Star Citizen?
Yeah, 16 gigs of VRAM minimum. I mean, I'm running an old 6950 XT on a 5800X 3D. It's right now the game is still heavy CPU RAM dependent, but VRAM is king. It always will be, because the mode of developing games is not about efficiency. Not every game will be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where it's just optimized and wonderful. It's always going to be, you need your graphics card to do all the load that they're not going to do for you. So like 9070 is going to be solid, and its price point's not. I mean, the ARC B580, that's solid. They're only going to get better. Middle of the road's your goat. It'll get you there.
Yeah, unless you have a specific reason, like if you have to play in 4K, then you start looking at other like higher end cards. But then you're also looking at Nvidia, which is
not consumer friendly.
And you're looking at like a minimum $1,000, probably more like $2,000, plus for that, plus of all the other things. So, but yeah, I agree. The mid range probably what you're going for. Dar, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have a 7800X 3D and a 7900 XTX, and playing in 1440p, I get like between 50 and 150, 200 FPS in Star Citizen. It's great. I've had no complaints with AMD cards I've been running the last 3 generations. I've had every RDNA. I had a 5700 XT, I had a 6800, now I have a 7900 XTX, and they've all been very good. I have a laptop with an NVIDIA GPU. DLSS hasn't impressed me particularly. And in Star Citizen in particular, it's not really GPU bound yet. You're much better off spending more on a CPU for Star Citizen, and probably will be for the next few years. So, I would probably do 9070 XT, or 7900 XT, 7900 XTX, depending on budget. Going lower end than that, you'll probably struggle on Star Citizen. If not now, then soon. 16 gigs of VRAM is going to be important.
Yep. The other thing I will add to that is often your performance in the game is less restricted by your GPU and more restricted by like RAM and CPU, but also one thing that everyone forgets is an SSD. That's becoming more standard
Yes.
where everyone uses SSDs these days. But like, um, in general, SSDs are um, needed for Star Citizen. They've always been needed for Star Citizen since 2.0. If you had like like a regular hard drive, it would run like garbage. And for the longest time, that was the running joke where if somebody was like, this game sucks, it's awful, it's unoptimized as shit, and like on the patches that are like really good, it's like, what hard drive are you using? Because they'll be like, oh no, I've got the top of the line graphics card, top of the line CPU. I've got like 64 gigabytes of RAM. So this, I'm top line. What's better? It's like, are you using an old hard drive? They're like, yeah. Like that's why, because that's not how the game loads things. It loads things, fast. Like the way the game loads and unloads, it's optimized for SSD. So
I think it was like 323. I bought an NVMe, a 1 terabyte, and it's just named Star Citizen.
Star Citizen.
I'm on the road to 1.0, baby. I'm ready
I,
for 1 terabyte of game.
I have the same thing. I bought a 1 terabyte drive just for Star Citizen. Be like, yep, and it's the same thing. NVMe just there waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean the last 6 months I've had 2 to 3 copies of Star Citizen running at any given time with live. There was 4.0 peer review and live and PTU at one point, and, tech previews and stuff. So I usually have multiple copies of Star Citizen installed. So yeah, yeah, NVMe drive. As far as I know, I think it's genuinely unplayable on a hard drive. But,
Yeah.
I haven't had a hard drive in a computer in like 10 years. So.
But yeah, if you're looking at cheaper stuff too, because we were literally talking about this earlier, we were looking at the ARC A770 because I didn't know that the ARC A770 actually is 16 gigabytes. So like some of the Intel cards, if you're looking for like a cheap, the Intel cards, if you're looking at the B and the A series, are really good. Like
particularly the Battle Mage, the B.
Yeah,
I think the A770, or whichever one is the high end from the original ARC, it would play Star Citizen pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and the B580 blows the
Yeah.
doors off the A770. It's just a generational improvement. I'm really hoping they come with the B770 soon because that thing's going to be a monster.
So yeah, so you can get them pretty good. I don't think, but the standard rule for Star Citizen, other than that, is the same rules as other ones. The AMD 5800 Ryzen, that one is still the best CPU for gaming, and there's just nothing even close to it. And so,
if you can get a 9800 X3D and mid to high end GPU, you'll be set.
Yeah.
I couldn't recommend NVIDIA right now. The 5000 series is 10% more improvement for like 30% more money, and that's not great. But
I will say this: I think their 6 series might be an improvement just because of that hit they took to their stocks with that AI thing. I think they've kind of seen the writing on the wall and they realize they don't really have that market share anymore. I think we might actually see some generational improvement from the 5 to the 6.
If
we already did with the cooler. The improved on the cooler is insane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the fact that the 5090 is 2 slots is pretty cool. Other than that, it's
Escape,
a lot of money.
Speaking of money, Escape, thank you for donating $9.99 on YouTube, or $99.99, so $100 on YouTube. Don't you dare skimp. Your PC better be top of the line. Rocket Strike. Yeah, thank you. My plan isn't to skimp. My plan is to actually get the AMD 9070 XT, because the just waiting for the NVIDIA's GPUs for 550 series is not good, and the 40 series is out of stock. So it's like, it's not even the skimp issue. It's more of it's available and it gives me the same performance that I would get otherwise. So that's the main one. So
yeah.
All right, let's get to the next question. All right. Question: pros and cons of random versus predetermined rewards. That's a good question. I can start off with the pros and cons. I think the pros and cons, the pros of random is it encourages players to consistently go back, because it's like, well, just one more turn, just one more attempt, I might be able to do so. Um, the cons of that is it can also do the opposite effect, where someone just goes, meh, no, I don't even bother because I can't guarantee that I'm going to get anything. And so there's no reason to. Because it could be a kick in the nuts to like go really hard and do all these things, but like, oh, I'm going to get an F7A, and then it pops up as like a Sulian. And it's like, that's nice. It's a free ship, but.
I would shift delete my game.
Yeah.
Hey, I like the Saloon.
I don't hate it, but if my choice is an F8, an F7, a Corsair, a Cutlass, or a Sulin,
Yeah. I know. I think Zero has gotten 2 Sulins doing that full run. Like, got absolutely screwed over it, and that's the problem.
Where's that streamer privilege?
Yeah, exactly. It's that's the problem when you roll the dice, where it's like it's not as good. So CIG either has to guarantee that those are always going to be good rewards, or you just sort of have that the risk reward does someone want to take it. I think the pro of having predetermined rewards is that it guarantees that people will go. The con is if you already have it, there's no reason. Like, unless if you already have, like, oh, I already done that mission, I already have the reward for that mission, I'm not going to do it again. There's no reason for me to do it again unless it's really fun or there's some other reason to do so. So it can reduce the amount of return. Dar, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in general, the best way to handle that is random rewards with bad luck protection. You know, the star coins we were talking about earlier. It's like the rewards are random, and earning them all takes a considerable amount of time. But if you really want the F7A, you can turn your reward in for star coins, and after doing it for 3 weeks or something, then you can trade your star coins in for an F7A. I think that's a really good way a lot of games handle that is, you know, you it can be demoralizing if Zero gets a third Cillian, he'll probably quit Star Citizen, you know.
Nah, he'll just go work for VKB to get that left metal stick.
Yeah. If they never do that, I wouldn't have bought Virples.
Dibbles, your thoughts on the pros and cons versus of like random rewards versus predetermined?
Time and place. CZs, I see random, but I could also see them doing, if you do like a weekly mission, you go through all the steps, and once a week you can guarantee get a pick a reward, kind of a thing. Randomized stuff absolutely should be your day to day. Like, you're encountering an NPC and you blow up an F7A, you shouldn't see a stock loadout. He lives in Pyro, for God's sakes. Like, that thing should be band-aided together and running like a jump drive from Mars or something. Like, you should be able to see more than just the generic stuff. And I say the Hornet because no component access.
Yeah.
And it bothers me, but that's besides the point.
All right, so next question comes from Bracer Phoenix, who asks, when should we have the new Daymar Javelin wreck site converted into a town?
I think players should do that.
I could see
I think
players
that should be, you know, that sounds like good player-driven content.
For those who don't know, CIG actually, for the test, they did a test for the team that is now CIG Montreal, where when they first were put together, they gave them a task of creating a landing zone out of the Daymar wreck, the Daymar Javelin wreck. And so they showed it off as like, oh, this is really cool. And then they decided not to put it in the game. Now that they've kind of developed Stanton a little bit more, I could see we have sort of the like headquarters of the Ninetales, which is Grimhex. But we don't have like a place where you could go to see the headquarters of the Ninetales at Grimhex. So, but there's also another faction, the Dusters, which exists, and I could definitely see the Dusters having their main faction headquarters being out of that destroyed Javelin in Daymar, because it kind of fits their aesthetic and their vibe. So, but I agree with the whole like let players develop that area more than just than NPCs, because that could also be interesting. Dibbles?
I missed the question. My son was in here.
Oh, okay. The question is, when should we have the new Daymar Javelin wreck site converted into a town?
Yesterday. I like the idea because like the whole thing, like you said, the Dusters, like they're the original occupants for the most part. It makes perfect sense that they would take the Flysa and like turn that into a base, because they're the ones who were being chased by that crazy lady.
Yeah. They're the ones who brought
Also
it
would
down.
be a pretty solid CZ if you think about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Go inside, find old, tech, or something
Yeah.
like that. So
That
It'd
would
be
be
really cool.
that'd be a really good way to introduce the Squadron 42 Javelin layout and stuff, the way they've been doing with the Idris.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bury it in the
especially
sand in Daymar.
yeah, because it's in pieces. You can restrict things you don't want people to see that are restricted to squadron and do all that stuff, and then just let you go through this. It happens to connect into a cave system or something like the 600 IREC.
Yeah.
Man, that 600 IREC is so cool.
You can also do it
They
as
did such a
a.
good job with those.
They did with that cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The MSR and 600i. Yeah.
The one thing
Whatever
they could
it's
also
called.
do is they want to do monster hunting. That could easily be like an entrance to a monster hunting location, where like you have to go down there and go beat up a boreal stalker that's in a cave that's underneath the javelin, or something like that. That's terrorizing the local dusters. So
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Dragon Wolf, who asks, how could CIG bring the rewards and or gameplay of CZs to players who don't enjoy PvP? Dibbles?
Area 18.
Think that's it? That's it? But it's still
That's what it is. That's the sitcon. That's the PvE CZ. Like it's the 5-man homies go play in the sandbox and murder some NPCs.
What's the genre that everyone calls it? 4 idiots save the world genre.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a extraction shooter meets roguelike. That's really fascinating. I think the PvE side of the house is going to absolutely adore those. Like they're going to just eat them up and be really mad that they have to go all the way to Area 18 from Nyx to do that.
How about the other things? I think the spirit of the question of Dragon Wolf is asking is non-combat.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Transient jump points.
Transient jump points.
You can do like a hotspot, and you get you have a high enough mission rating with the mining group, and they'll be like, hey, we twigged a jump point out there. Looks to be initial probes response show high content of this, this, and this, and this. Jump point's active for X amount of hours. I'm not trying to rip off Reeves' wormholes, I promise, but that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you go out there, you have access, you have the rep. It's an instance thing for you, the PvE guy, to go have his quiet moment.
Okay. Dar? Same question, both way, either like
Yeah.
PvE in terms of like PvE combat or PvE in terms of like non-combat player experience.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to see that. I think the more we instance off the game, the more you let people hide from, uh, the open world
Yeah.
and the consequences of undocking the less I'll enjoy it. Sea of Thieves did they have like
Safer seas.
PVEs, yeah, safer seas, but there's a lot of stuff that you can't earn in safer seas, and you know is there a place for like I just want to have a chill night with the homies? Like, sure, but that shouldn't lead to getting the best stuff. The best stuff should be PvVP. I think that's what the game is, and the more we embrace that, the better. I think for the game.
Well, the jump point isn't, magically taking you there. If it's one of those high value reward target things, like you're not the only one's going to be known about it. Everyone else is going to be going for it. You have to get into it first,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. There's a lot of things they can do, and we haven't seen what they really want to do with high sec yet. Because we're getting there. I think with meshing, we can actually start to see the AI dial to 11 in ships and absolutely brutalize people in high sec. We haven't seen it yet, but we can.
Yeah.
I think the existence of Pyro has helped somewhat with that in Stanton. I actually have spent very little time in Stanton since 4.0, but when I have gone back, it has felt a lot safer to me. So that's I think the more we let things naturally resolve themselves, the better. The less the game gets in the way of what people want to do, and the less the better, I think, overall for the game. Sandbox MMOs should feel like living breathing worlds more than games. You never get immersed in a game like WoW, and you can absolutely get it immersed in Star Citizen.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I think there are ways you could do it. Like I've talked about this in the past of the idea of having like a temporary timed comet. Like there's this extraplanetary comet that's zooming through Stanton. We're tracking it. It's here, and it updates every 5 minutes or so. And it's like you can go to it. You just have to get a mission to go to it, and then you go there and you mine it as much as possible because it's got some super rare minerals and. You just maybe you pay to track the location of it, and it's timed, and once it's over with, it disappears, like or it's a quantum asteroid where it's slipping between interspace and real space and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. Like these are kind of fun things you could do. I think there was like a Star Trek Voyager episode where like they had to like track an asteroid that was slipping between subspace and real space and was constantly jumping in and out.
What was that? What was that missile in Wing Commander? Like a skipper or
the
whatever,
skipper
where it goes in
missile.
and out of cloaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
I found out that was free on YouTube, so I've been watching it.
Yeah. So that means it's like it's not necessarily instance, but it allows you to like focus on, hey, go here for the super rare minerals. So similar to the CZ, where maybe you have to like scan it to find the exact location and then get to it, and then you have a timer for how quickly you can get to that.
Yeah, it can even just be, hey, we have an insider scoop on something. You've got a limited time to get in there, get what you want. Or even like for salvaging, we've pushed back a Vandal fleet. You've got 15 minutes to get there and 30 minutes to get out before they reinforce it.
Yeah.
What was I'm sure it didn't make it in with the mission factor, but the salvage mission that was in Dead Space, what was that called?
In Wake of Disaster.
In the Wake of Disaster, that was always, I loved that.
Yeah, it was
we
cool.
had some organic PvP there, and we also had some Org Knights of just 4 vultures loading a cat, and yeah, it's great.
I do think that you're never going to get away from PvE combat because there always has to be some threat, and I think when
it's
you're dealing
filler.
It's so. Whereas I know some people are just like, I don't want to do any combat, which is fine, but there should always be the threat. And if you don't want to do combat, then you can hire folks like, these two to go beat people up who try to take you out, and
that's my Eve experience. I hardly ever do combat in Eve, but the threat of it makes it fun. Gets your heart going.
It keeps you going. Like I've my experience playing DayZ has changed my experience of how I want to play games, because before that I played a lot of co-op games and single player games, and I still do that. But if I go into a game that's like, hey, you're always going to be a threat no matter where you go, I'm like, let's go. I love to be absolutely paranoid everywhere I go, because when you're paranoid and you're right, and you catch somebody who's been following you, or you catch somebody who doesn't know you're there off guard, there's nothing more exciting in a game where you're just like, I absolutely out-mind played this player. I may not be a better combat player, but I out-thought them. That's a kind of completely different experience. Go ahead.
Even when you don't, and you get impatient and you run, and then you just get head-eyed. Like it's like, I knew it. I freaking knew it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, as long as when you die, you feel like you made a mistake and you learn from it.
Okay, well, I need to check this area, that kind of stuff.
And I think that's the key case where a lot of folks right now are concerned, is that like a lot of times they die because of a bug, not because they screwed up. And I think when we get to the point where like, oh, you died because you screwed up, then it'll be a little bit more like, I'm an idiot, and less of I hate this game.
Once it's more obvious that it's not a bug and that you screwed up, because right now there's so many things that can just be a bug. Like I exploded. Well, maybe the game didn't report the blaster fire.
Yeah,
stuff like that. But you could have just been this invisible asteroid at an outpost, or a ship blew up there before and it kills you.
Yeah, it could be a missile that you didn't see come in and hit you because they were like right close to you, or it could be the game decided to teleport you inside the planet randomly.
Or like last night, it could be that you never noticed a size 10 torpedo moving 12 meters a second hit you, and you just chilled and let it happen.
Yeah.
It was visually stunning, though. We appreciate you, random Starlancer guy.
Who we killed 3 times.
Well, he kept coming back.
He was asking for it.
Definition of insanity.
Yes.
He was coming right for us.
He was reaching.
All right.
Stop resisting.
Listen, I had my first experience of PvP in 4.0 during an event where we were trying to do phase 2 of the fight for Pyro. And this guy in a meta F8 was chilling at the location where we had to go. And I was like, all right, we're just going to have to fight you. I was in a stock Harbinger and I beat him.
And that is satisfying.
That is
he
so
didn't hold his
satisfying.
S key hard enough then.
Well, I think he just wasn't used to how much shield pen, because a harb is pure ballistics. It's just a pure
That's
ballistic
right.
hit.
Yeah,
She's dangerous.
Cannons, yeah.
Yeah. So
and he ain't got the speed to get out of the way of you.
Yeah. So he just ate bullets every time he made a pass, and then he realized, oh, I need to go around and get my shield back up. And it's like, cool, your shield's down in 2 shots. Like I'm going to just rip your shields apart.
That's one of the things I actually really like about master modes is that whole, well, my shields are down, let me just go blast away from you at 1,000 meters a second, get my shields back, and then I'll be back in a second to keep fighting is much harder to do now. You really have to manage your boost.
Yeah. And I'm not like at all an expert PvP player. But
yeah.
Then I followed that up by having a meta arrow tried to come after us, and then me in a stock F7A just was like he tried to run, and it was like you just don't try to run. This is just
thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're just gonna die tired. This is how this is gonna work, and it was so satisfying to see the guy just be like, oh god, I gotta go, and it's like, you made the mistake of doing this in the first place. Chased him down and clubbed him. And it was like, I am in a stock loadout, and these people who are meta chasers are coming after us. And then they came back, and the best cinematic moment of that was when they came back, our Polaris came in. And they were just like,
oh yeah, it's like, my wife's calling. I'll see you guys later.
We're trying, and they tried to scatter, and then one of our guys in a freaking gladiator chased down the arrow and killed him.
I think probably my favorite 401 moment was because you don't get missile notification in nav.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that because I didn't really pay attention. So I'm in a Connie and I'm joining KG and Dar and all those guys. I'm like, I'm coming, guys. And I'm like, why are all these ships here? And then hit by missiles, soft death Connie, and I'm just coming to the ground. The Connie doesn't explode. I survived the landing. And I jump out the side and loot a gun, and then we kill 3 players out of a Polaris in FPS, and then we just run away until one of our other org members shows up in a medical nurse or terrapin, and he comes in low signature down below the back, and we get away. It was amazing.
I love those, and I'm having more of those moments in 4.0 than I've had in previous patches, which is good. It's a good sign between the completely game-breaking freezes and other issues that can pop up. But yeah.
My first night in 4.0, and this has become a meme in KG's chat, but I was out in my Starlancer and I wanted to do cargo hauling for CFP. And it was my first night in 4.0. I spawned in Orison and flew into Pyro and grabbed one of the CFP cargo missions, and I'm dropping off cargo at some ground base. And as I was landing, I saw there was a Titan landed. Completely stock Titan, no paint, landed, and I saw that there was a player in it, and then they got out. And I was like, well, I'm just dropping my cargo off. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm gonna just ignore him. I'm trying not to be ultra violent right now. I'm just doing my thing. And I'm loading the last box on the elevator, and the guy comes up over the elevator. He's on the roof of one of the buildings, shoots me, and I'm KG wasn't there, but we were playing together, and I'm telling him what happened. And the meme has become, Dar got killed by a Titan. I'm like, no, I didn't get killed by the stock Titan. I got killed by the guy who was flying the stock Titan. Very different. But I like that danger. Even if you are out, you don't want to do combat, that's fine, but you should have your head on the swivel.
And now I kill starter ships on principle, not because they're starter, but because of who could have a gun in the starter.
Yeah,
right.
John Wick could be showing up in a Corolla.
You don't want to let the soft death ship live, because it could be chock full of guys with guns that are going to come float over to you and cause you problems.
Yeah. But being said, I do look forward to engineering when you can't really blow it up easily, and that scenario happens more organically.
Yeah.
All right. The next question comes from Escape, who asks, should there be an option to pick missions from one faction that only antagonize one other faction? I want to be a Xeno threat hunting merc for headhunters. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they already have those. Like, you know who you're going up against when you pick the missions. But I think it could be easier telegraphed, being like, hey, this is just some random outlaws, or this is Xenothreat, or this is CFP.
Especially from like a Pyro gang perspective, it makes perfect sense that another gang would want the turf of another gang. Like, there's no reason in anything you wouldn't push Xeno or Rough and Ready for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Dar?
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a reasonable request to me.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Gives you, or if you go the other way around, you want to be, Xeno threat. Well, you can guild. But the only chance you have to really have that side of it is the Xeno threat event, and like we know that hopefully gets more beefy. Like somebody mentioned earlier about like events near jump gates. Like that's how I always envisioned Xeno threat complete would be, is like blockade runner and Xeno threat are tied. So like XT has a thing, it's like a feint, and you go that way, and then you go, oh well, we actually did blockade runner, and then that goes into they'll take over a station in Stanton.
Yeah.
So you have to go and you have to liberate that station, and then you push them back, and then you fight at the jump gate, and then you push through. The UEA's like, we ain't fucking doing that, dude.
Yeah.
And then you push through, and then you either win or lose.
Yeah.
And then faction war kind of thing.
I'd love for those. I mean, that's the mission system that they got to still build up. Yeah. But like the branching missions or different options, and not really branching, but like the different approaches to one mission where you have an event where it could feel like you're in a combat, like you're in a war, where you have 3 different skirmishes going on at once, and you have to choose which battle you're going to join and how you're going to do it, and then like reorient and move towards another direction, and each battle having a different objective and different ways of things you're supposed to do. That seems more where CIG was wanted to go in the future with the missions. So we hope to see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
All right. Machuza asks, how will CIG solve the PvP versus PvE problem, specifically wanting to play PvE only as pirates?
I hope they don't.
I'm gonna be the spoil sport and say you're just gonna always have to risk PvP.
Yeah, the downside to like I want to be a criminal, but I don't want to be held accountable. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I mean, if there was a way to make that engaging and fun and like part of the verse, like if there's a system out there that is run by this massive singular pirate cartel and everything you do is for your godfather, cool.
Yeah.
Like if you're running cargo in that area for like that systems group, like that could be an option in the future. But I don't, like in the immediate needs of how the game works and the systems limiting we have, I don't see that being a possibility, at least until like 2.0.
Yeah, I can still see you being a PvE pirate. And I still think that because of the nature of the size and scale of the universe, you're still likely not going to run into a player. But that doesn't mean a bounty hunter won't take your bounty, or you won't hit the wrong person and now suddenly another group wants you dead, and so a player will come find you and kill you. That's kind of always the risk. I still think the majority of majority of pirating is going to be PvE, because that's going to be the most lucrative approach, and that's already going on in 4.0. I forgot what mission it was, but there's a mission where you attack a ship, and then you can like they're always carrying some,
the Vaughn missions.
Yeah.
Bit Zero's got one too, where you go into the hangar and you steal a ship out of it.
Yeah,
and it's got stuff in there that you can just sell.
Yeah, it's usually like a ton of gasping weevil eggs and stuff like that. So you just get pure profit for a ton of profit off of that. So, but
I hope PvE and PvP are never fully separate. There should always be risk, both as a pirate and as a hauler, or anything else.
Shabasa asks, question: do you feel CIG should run Save Stanton and fight for Pyro one more time before 1.0? I personally say yes. I think that's a great time for beta testing. Run through all of the story one more time so that people who weren't able to get there at the very beginning have one more chance to do it before they go to 1.0 live. What do you think, Dibbles?
Yeah, when they're on 0.9 or whatever.
Yeah, like
I have a caveat to it.
Sure.
Yes, as long as you let me get the Night Runner skin.
Okay. I think
Dibbles, you know what you have to do to get the Night Runner skin.
I don't want to do it though. I'm close. I just don't want to do it.
I think all of the events should be run one more time at the very least, even if they're planning running once before 1.0, to allow for all of the people who joined the verse late to get some version of those. Like, I'm not
I
saying
mean,
you
they've
need to,
already coined the name in case you missed it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it would be a great way of because they're probably already building a ton of like 1.0 storyline arcs that probably they almost certainly won't want to run when they hit between the awkward time between the 4 point whatever and the 1.0, that beta section. And that'll be perfect time to uh, let them build out more missions and more other kind of ideas while they just recycle the stuff they've already built and then put it back in so players have a chance to play it who weren't there before. So
Yeah, I'm like, I believe everything should be open to everybody until the game is released. Like limited events are testing environment at this point.
yeah.
It's really silly. Like F7A ticket, golden ticket, all that stuff. I think the platinum ticket event was really cool,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to see that run again. Like I think it'd be really neat. Even the F7A like overdrive initiative, I thought that was really cool, and that would be super cool. And especially if you run overdrive in a way that crafts out the slicer situation,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do a little filler in between that and like do it all again. I don't think until the game is considered a live release, we should continue to restrict stuff like this in that manner. Like if you want to do crafting, then instead of giving them the gun, give them the blueprint. So now you still have the gun because you did the original version of it.
Yeah. And you could just change the
I
rewards a
think
little bit so that you don't.
Yeah.
So like the people who did the original version, they still have the original. Like, oh yeah, what's this? Oh yeah, this is the thing I got. Like I still have my CDF armor from the
yeah
original Xeno threat. I'm gonna hold
yeah
on to that to the
same.
day I die. Like that shit's going
Yeah.
up in my office in whatever housing I have, and it's going to be on a mannequin and be like, that is when I fought the original invasion of Xeno threat. You know,
Well,
that's
then
cool.
like the Xeno threat armor I think is for overdrive. You
Yeah.
got too. Like
Yeah.
I want an armor rack so I can shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never wear it.
No,
No.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't
I
do that
I
Xeno
I think
stuff.
I think giving access again to the F7A upgrade is that's the one thing. Like there are various ways to get an F8 if you want an F8, but like as far as I know right now, the only way to get an F7A is the contested zones. If you didn't happen to be playing while Overdrive was happening and you earned the upgrade, then
Yeah.
I don't think you can even gray market it, can you?
Yes, you can.
You can?
Oh,
So
really?
if you apply the upgrade to a non-store credit, nothing that bounds it to your account F7C, you can actually buy it on the gray market. But why would you spend $650 on that?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Don't
It's
ask me how I
that
know.
particularly since the F7A has, at least right now, is so meta. Having it be so restricted is not great for the game.
Well,
Yeah, the Super Hornet helped with that though.
and on
Yeah.
top of that, the F7A is definitely going to be, uh, almost certainly going to be a reward for completing Squadron. Like
Yeah.
they've talked about that many times about that being something you can unlock as a reward in game for completing Squadron as a thank you for completing Squadron. But
I do
Maybe
hope
we'll get
we
an
get the UEE
F8X.
skin. No, I would like just the UEE skin, like the white and green, like the F7A
Mhm.
Mark One has. I would love that on the F7A Mark Two.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. We got the next question comes from Bracer Phoenix, who asks, "How many builds you have of Star Citizen installed on your hard drive? How many versions of Star Citizen?" I'm gonna have to pull it up, but I think I have 5 versions. I never
I
delete it.
think I just have 2 right now.
I don't delete them. So like I've got a preview build, I've got EPTU, I've got PTU, I've got live, and I've got 4.0 preview. So I've got 5 versions still in there.
Yeah, I just have 2 right now. Live and PTU. I have the 4.0.2 PTU saved, but I copy my folders back and forth a lot.
Mhm.
So just to keep my key bindings consistent and everything. So yeah, I usually only have the 2
Dibbles?
Yeah,
or
it's the
3
same.
when there's 3.
I ritualistically sacrifice the previous build in the hopes that this one's stable, and then I'm wrong.
People saying you have more drive space than yeah. Yes, I have 6 terabytes on my gaming PC, and they're almost all constantly filled. Like
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, but I have a 2 terabyte spin drive that I use for storage and like random things I make.
yeah, I have the same. I've got a bunch of SSDs, but they're like not the M2 SSDs, they're the SATA SSDs. So got like 4 of them. I think one of them's 2 terabyte. Actually, no. The problem is I have one. My NVM, my M2 is not 1 terabyte. It's 512 gigabytes, and then all the rest of them are SSDs. And like one of them's two terabyte, and the other ones are 1 terabyte. And like all of my Steam games go on the 2 terabyte. All of my my other games, so like non-platformed, or like EA or Microsoft, or like Ubisoft, all of their like launchers and little dealies are on there. Another one. Then I have one for Star Citizen, and I think I have one that was set aside for possibly recording directly to that PC because I have a different PC for that. But yeah, does keeping an SSD full really impact the lifespan noticeably? No, not that I know.
It's read writes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how much you use it.
So like if it's on your OS, the OS is constantly getting rewrites and updates. That SSD is prone to die faster.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still pretty long lived. I don't think I've ever had an NVMe drive fail on me.
I have. I lost the Silicon Lottery for NVMe. My SSDs, like my actual SATAs, I've had last for forever though.
Yeah. What you do? What do you want to do, and what's your budget? Oh, someone's asking.
Someone asked about starters. The Lovestruck Nomad package that's on sale right now is pretty.
That's a good deal.
It depends on like, for me, it just depends on your as a player. If you're new, if you haven't done many free flies, you go the cheapest thing possible, lowest cash in, because you don't know if you're gonna like it. This is one of those weird games where you don't have to spend AAA prices to find out you don't like it. You can just go $45, get in a bang stang, or not a bang stang. They don't give you the bang stang. We really should. And then
we shouldn't.
You go, oh no,
that's a prison. That's a prison bus.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet.
It's awful. It used to be sweet. Now it's bad. Now it breaks my heart.
I will argue that because it's a Silas Kerner ship, it's bad.
Wait until they just start exploding and burning randomly.
That's my favorite part is we're going to get the Nomad, or not the Nomad, the Pioneer, and it's just going to put craters and planets and not actually work.
It's going to get stuck.
And then he's going to go audit the UEE.
Yeah.
That reference.
But yeah, generally, yeah, $45 is all you need. And the thing is that CIG has like a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to get a deal on something, you can. Someone asked like Cutlass, or Nomad, and the answer is go with Cutter. If those are your 3, go with a Cutter. But if you're
always
like
go lowest price.
But if you're like, I don't care about money, I am fairly wealthy and I spend hundreds of dollars on games, and usually I enjoy Valorant and gamble for all the skins. Then yeah, go for the Cutlass. Go for broke. Go.
But also,
higher.
if you're patient, wait for ILW.
Yeah,
because it'll be a free fly, 10-year insurance, and you can try literally every military ship out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the thing is ILW and IAE are the 2 best times to try the game because you have access to every ship, and they don't give you test drives unless you know somebody who's a degenerate like myself.
Mm-hmm. They don't give. It's harder to get those things, and you can still get like rentals, but those are cost you money, and you don't want to like spend 20,000-30,000 UEC just to find out you don't like a ship. So, all right. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more questions to go. Shimpasta asks, now that we have Pyro, do you find Stanton boring? No. Not at all.
No.
Nope. It's just a different flavor.
I've noticed, however, that Stanton is not quite as full fleshed out as Pyro. It's clear you can see where the seams meet in some cases.
You can definitely tell that
particularly Area 18.
It's like Temu Pyro.
Yeah. It's obviously the prototype. So I'm looking forward to, because they've even talked about they're already working on improving Stanton with like new ATCs and other things like that. So
I saw that. I was really hyped for bespoke ATCs.
Yeah. I'm a big lover of cargo hauling missions. So going back to, throwing my Atlas and my Star Lancer and heading back to Stanton for a while to haul cargo is always fun. I couldn't get tired of that. I don't think it's. in
Yeah.
between, fighting for my life in Pyro, it's nice to have a calm, quiet place to go, and it's the stations are more inviting, and it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
I just stay away from Area 18 because it's too old and ugly. I don't
Yeah.
like
I
it.
really want the Hurston Bespoke ATC to be like a 70-year-old chain smoker. Hello, hi, permission to land granted. Freaking great.
That or like a Jersey dock worker.
Hey,
Hey,
get over
what?
there. Just hurry
What?
up. Get out.
What? You know?
You looking at me? You looking at me? Permission to land tonight.
Yeah. Was that some lip I hear? You give me some lip? No, you can
pay
go
your
somewhere
protection?
else. You know?
You pay your protection to Bobby Hurston.
I bet you would like a hanger, wouldn't you?
Let me ask you a question. Is your mother so?
All right. Next question comes from Bracer Phoenix, who asks, since we got jump points to the new attractions in the verse, my question is, should we have events around jump points, and could they be fun? We've already talked about that. The idea of having like transient jump points, which will take you to a specific location, which might be some sort of event sort of thing. I think transient jump points would be fun, especially if you added transient jump points for like a Xenothreat event, where you have to hunt down where they're going, what transient jump point they're using to get into Stanton, and so finding it and then having to fight them at the entrance. That'd be cool.
That sounds very dangerous. It sounds almost like it's scanning gameplay. I don't know if we can have that.
I know.
We don't get.
We can't give the character purpose.
The space stats need to keep imagining things that the character will be good at. We can't give it a purpose.
I know I went back to this, but like that's the entire plot of the Wing Commander movie. It's
yes.
Like the bad guy gets access to a jump point and you have to like intercept it and meet them and get the data. And like that's cool. I think it'd be an amazing event.
Yeah. Dar?
Yeah. I mean, I love events. I'm really excited to see the Jump Town, but in Pyro is going to be fun. And I'm surprised they didn't do like a opening the dark portal event like at the jump point when 4.0 went live. I bet they considered it, but feels like it would work.
I can see that with Nyx.
Yeah. God, I can't wait for next. I'm moving to Levski and I'm never leaving.
You mean going home to Levski?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll go home when I get to Berea. I'll be right back.
I will.
Okay.
I will be with my people finally.
Yeah. For those who are younger, who weren't here when we were younger, who are newer to the verse, like we don't get Nyx. We're going home to Nyx. It's returning to us because we used to have it.
Finally get to see what the Montreal team did with the hospital at Levski.
Yeah.
And then, that was in monthly reports in like 2021 or something that they were working on.
Yeah. David Stockton asks, do you believe there will be a benefit to keeping the Mark I Super Hornet compared to the Mark II? No.
But it's cool.
It's an aesthetic thing, all right, next question.
It'll be a rare thing that you have that other people can't have, and that's always fun.
Yeah. You guys got stranded in Stanton. Yes. Levski went home, and we got stranded here. M. Diego asks, question, do you think that people blowing up own ships near a cave in an outpost is something that should be mitigated or policed? No. Don't
Nope.
park your ship inside of caves, or make sure you have somebody watching it,
Yeah.
Will be a big drawback to the new CZs.
Yes.
It's going to be just like Jump Town. You're going to have to control your airspace.
Yep.
One of the things, there was another, it was an old video that I made. It was like a live stream where we went into to a cave to do a mission. And when we came out, as we were coming out, somebody showed up to shoot our ship. I think it was, it wasn't a mission. We chased a player into a cave. Like they were going into a cave to do a mission, and they were bounties. So we went back and killed them. And by the time we got back, a friend had showed up and was just blowing up our ships. So we ended to hide in the rocks as they were trying to blow up our ships, and then take them out with the rail the shoulder mounted rail gun. It was just sort of like cat and mouse trying to avoid the shots and everything like that. It was great. Like there's a lot of dynamic gameplay that's going to be offered there. And in the future, when we have scanning gameplay and stealth, you might be able to park it in a place where you can't see it. Just don't park it right next to the entrance. Park it like a tree canopy or somewhere else and turn it off the engine so no one can see it when you come in. So, you know.
I think in general, many of the complaints people have about, ships getting blown up outside of a cave, or, I keep getting pirated in my prospector or whatever is, the the solution is to play with multiple people in
Mhm.
this multiplayer game. The
Org.
game is, yeah, join an org,
Yeah.
be a little bit social
I mean,
and
even
play
if you're
with
not
other people.
social, the subtle little hint is if the quantum drive can take you there, you will die there.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. All right. Last question is from Dragon Wolf, who asks, "Pie in the sky dream PvPvE content. Example: a volcano eruption brings rare materials for miners, but the ash cloud blocks the comma ray." Um, my big pie in the sky is a Xenothreat event where there are multiple stages, and each stage is a different type of mission. One stage is you're not even stage, like they're all going at the same time. One mission you could take is go to location A, pick up goods, bring them to location B to keep the fight going. Resupplies, all that kind of stuff. Having to fly through combat, or even not even fly through combat, just constantly going. And there's a line that's moving up as you're doing the mission, as you complete it. Then as you fly away, it's ticking down. So you're constantly trying to refill this bar while you're doing this mission so it doesn't go all the way down. And another that's going on is the combat where you're fighting the Idrises and the javelins and fixing the javelin and all that kind of stuff. The whole regular mission. And then there's another where the Xenothreat has hired players to go to disrupt, like to go attack Security Point Korea to try to drag attention away from what's going on, like kind of like a to pull forces away to sort of stretch out the line. And so you've got players who are working as mercenaries for Xenothreat, taking over Security Point Korea, and then other players have to come in and take them out. So you've got PvP, PvE, and normal non-combat PvE sort of experiences all going on at the same time and all for the same purpose. So that's just my crazy idea. Dibbles.
Battle of Vega.
Battle of Vega.
So it's not exclusively that. So basically, Vandal incursion, UE fleet jumps away, X amount of time. CDF mobilized to emergency hold the line, and you increasingly wave, obviously, because that's how Vandal work. They work in waves and they increase difficulty as they need to do. You have to hold it, like whatever you have. You obviously don't have the best of the best, and eventually, it culminates in this battle. If you can survive long enough, the kingship shows, but then homie Bishop shows up in his retribution. You get to see the retribution. Your nipples get hard, and everyone has fun. And it's like it's a high tier because I don't want to go in like detail of like what you do because I'm not a game designer. I'm just an idiot with money. But I think like it would be a lot of fun. I think that it would be a really cool like event because then you would have, similar to how like the ships would send rescue crews and stuff like that. So you would have the repair, some of the cap ships that are disabled, and you have to spin this thing up at like a short notice. Try to get this thing just good enough for government, get her running so the ship busters can fire, so you can push back the heavies, stuff like that. It would just be nuts.
Yeah, I like that idea. Dar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also not a game designer, but I think high level, I like the idea of, the it was it wasn't Xenothreat. What was the event that we're not running anymore where, you could run med supplies and get paid a whole bunch?
The Ninetales Lockdown.
Nine
Yeah.
Tails Lockdown, yeah. I really like that. Just adding more context to like a necessary logistics. So that gives your haulers and logistics guys like, okay, the CDF needs medical supplies and quantum fuel and this and that to this base. And um, you know, anytime you got haulers out in numbers, that's going to bring about pirate gameplay, PvP and stuff. And then, combine that with a Xeno threat style waves of enemies. Maybe they're Vandal, maybe they're Xeno threat, maybe they're Ninetales, whatever. Um, yeah, I think a lot of the events we have had have lend themselves well to PvE, VP, but yeah, that's I'm a logistics guy at heart. The more they add in, necessary hauling that is contributing to a larger goal, I'll be very happy to.
All right, so I lied. There was one more person who snuck in at the very last minute for one more question, but then I stopped the
Very, very
bot.
sneaky.
Marlax 101 asks, with CIG focusing on stability and fixes, etc., quality of life, do you think we will see some progress on org features before base building comes into the game? I really hope so.
I want to believe
Yeah.
in 0.2, the party chat system is improved. It's
Mhm.
very snappy with changing colors and stuff like that. So I want to believe that we're going to start getting trickle changes to it. Mostly because, I mean, the party system is the prelude to the org system. It's like you need to fix that. It's not going to be the full thing, but I think we'll start seeing some stuff.
Dar?
But it's going to take all year. It's not going to be like
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think anything org related that requires back end work, we're not going to see that. That'd be future work, and that's going to be in the category of things that they want to test thoroughly and not break the game with. But anything they can do to like the Mobiless UI for parties, and I mean, heck, they need to work on the chat app so that it can even display 600 names. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Like, we were last night. We were fighting over Shepherd's Rest, and this guy was really cool. He kept coming back in an F7A. We were kind of chatting in global, and we're like, "Hey, man, if you seem cool, let's." We wanted to like friend request him, and literally his name started with an S, and I couldn't scroll the chat app down far enough to add him. And that's like, those are the sort of front end things I would hope that they can change and make it quality of life. Um, hopefully, we did. I think KG friended him, but because he was pretty cool. But
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a good sneak in at the end because I think that'll make a good thumbnail and title for this After Dark. Because for some reason, people have been really enjoying these After Dark sessions. Like when I look at my metrics after the fact, when I split these up into two videos, the After Dark videos always do a lot better. And I think it's because now the YouTube, for some reason, the first one did really well, and so the YouTube algorithm is like After Dark means good. So every single time it sees the After Dark in the title, it starts recommending it to the same people, and so it just kind of goes up. But who knows? So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out the Real KG, and you can find Dar and Dibbles there, as well as what is it? Frontier Defense Systems
Industries.
Frontier Defense Industries as their org. And if you did enjoy this, make sure you hit that follow button here on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. And we do these live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you come join and ask your own questions. Just check us out at youtube.com/The Captain's Table Podcast and twitch.tv/The Astropub. Thank you again for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.